Welcome to another week of Procrastination Garage. My name is Matt. Alright, we're not going to procrastinate quite as much this week. We're actually getting started earlier in the week. Today's Tuesday, and I'm going to try and get a little bit of stuff done for the next video. So what we've got up is an oil change today. I know, big deal, right? Well, this oil change is in my 6.7 Super Duty Power Stroke, and let me tell you, it's an ordeal in that it holds a lot of oil, and it is this nasty black oil. It's the most disgusting oil to have to deal with. Also, it really ought to have a fuel filter change, and so all told, I'll probably do both those in this video. And then we'll move on to some other maybe more fun stuff, although I say fun stuff. I want to get the sideboards painted on the utility trailer, talked about in the last video, and who knows what else. But for now, going to get the white truck situated down here. I needed a day that there was no wind in the morning because this one it's hard to pull into the shop to work on. And also, I don't care how careful you are, that damn oil will go somewhere that you don't want it on the floor. And even though it's not environmentally friendly, if it's going to drip a little bit, I'd rather do it out in the gravel driveway. So let's get vehicles moved around and get started. Got the truck down in front of the shop where I want it, sitting nice and level. Got the hood popped. We've got the oil cap removed. So now it's time to crawl underneath it and get at the oil pan. The thing, it holds 13 quarts, I think, something like that. So I need a pretty big pan, and it's a mess. Got the supplies, now time to crawl up underneath there. The nice thing about a 4x4 truck, or at least a Ford F-350, is that there's room to crawl around underneath it without having to put it up on ramps or jack stands or anything like that. Look at that nasty stuff come out. The funny thing is with a diesel, I can change it today and tomorrow, change it again, it'll look just like that. It's just the nature of diesel engines. While the oil is draining, I guess I might as well get started on the fuel filter replacement. Genuine Motorcraft parts, that's all I use in the thing as far as oil and filters goes. Better safe than sorry. The filter system is two parts. You've got a part that's up underneath the driver's seat, and then you've got a part that's in the engine compartment. And it's kind of a touchy thing. Last time I changed the filters, I could not get the truck started to save my life. Ended up having to tow to the dealer, who checked my work, didn't find anything wrong with it, and he had a hard time getting it started too. And that was about the fourth or fifth fuel filter change I'd done on this truck, and it never had a problem up to that point. I think what happened is I think more fuel drained out of the fuel lines than had ever drained out before. And you're supposed to prime the system, I think, 6 times before you fire it up. And I did that, it didn't start. I primed it 6 more times, it didn't start. And I just did it off and on, and finally I was concerned I was going to damage the engine. So, like I said, I had it towed. And the dealer dinked around with it, and same thing, they got it fired up, and they charged me for it, but it wasn't a big deal. They didn't do anything. So anyway, let's get started on that. There's the housing for the one filter. You've got an electrical connector to disconnect, and then you've got this bracket here that swings up and protects and bolts in right here. Funny thing is this bolt was loose. That was the dealer, because they were the last ones that touched this. So now that little yellow knob right there, you turn that's what releases the pressure, because this is a high pressure system. So you drain that. But the key is, I don't think you want to leave it open any longer than you have to. And that's what I did different last time. Because this is such a messy process, I thought, well, let's just drain this all the way down before I unscrew it, and everything will be a lot cleaner. Well, it really wasn't any cleaner, and in the end I couldn't get the truck started, so that was the only thing I did different. So we're not going to do it that way this time. And unscrewing she comes. Once the filter housing is removed, you can see there's a little O-ring up there. You got to replace that, and this is one I do replace even if I don't in the other cars. And then there's the filter element itself, and you got to replace that, and then we'll screw it back together. And I didn't lose hardly any fuel this time, so I think I may be onto something here. We'll see in a little bit. I'm in the process of putting the filter housing back in place. I replaced the filter on the inside, new O-ring. Now the question may be, how tight you got to tighten that thing? You tighten it until it stops. It just has a positive stop, and when it stops, it lines up the electrical in the right place, and everything is golden. So you can't really screw this up as far as tightening it up and changing it. There's how much fuel we lost in this process. Geez, at the price of fuel, it's 6 something a gallon. I guess we can't hardly afford to do that, huh? And anyway, there's the filter element. So it's all put back, electrical connector's done. Little bracket moved back into place. Now you can see it, this bracket there. Not sure what it's kind of like a little skid plate or something. I don't know what its point is. And also that little yellow knob there, the whole purpose is to be able to drain water out of the fuel filter system. You're supposed to check it periodically, and I'll admit I'm not real good at that. There's also a light on the dash that's supposed to come on, but really you shouldn't wait till the light comes on. You should every once in a while drain a little bit off, and if you've got water in there, you'll be able to see it. So I usually change oil and fuel filters off enough to where I don't worry about it, but all it takes is just one batch of bad fuel and it can happen. So, all right, I'm not sure you can see it off in the distance there. The oil it's pretty much stopped draining, so we'll put the plug back in and we'll pull the filter down. Oil filter next. Got my oil filter wrench, and we're turning. Oh, that bad boy is tight. All right, filter's off and draining. You know, they always tell you to make sure the little rubber gasket from the previous filter isn't stuck up there. This is the only vehicle I've ever owned where this is an issue. Every time that freaking gasket is right there. Amazing. And it's just been kind of dumb luck that I always discover it, because, you know, I'm so bad about not checking it, because I've never, even though they tell you to always check it, I've never had one that stuck, except for on this truck. New filters installed, filled with oil. So we're good on the bottom side. Now let's go up and work on the top side. It's helpful to have a stool to do the part up on top, because the truck stands pretty tall. So there's what I'm using for oil. 5W40 full synthetic diesel motor oil. Like I said, uses about 13 quarts. And here's a little cheat for you, maybe redneck. With a Sharpie, I put all the pertinent information right up there underneath the hood. How much oil, what kind of oil, part numbers, fuel filters, all that kind of stuff. It makes it real easy when you have a question on, instead of trying to search in the owner's manual, you got it right there. That's the third bottle, and if I did my math right, there's 2 quarts left. Well, just a touch under 2 quarts left. So that means 3 were pulled out of there, plus the other 2 gives me 13 quarts. So she is full. So now to put the cap back on, and now we need to do the fuel filter that's in the engine compartment. There's the new filter, and there's the old filter we've got to remove. You've got two fuel line connectors on there, and then you got to turn it like a quarter turn or something to pop it out of there. I disconnected the connectors, and then you turn it counterclockwise about a quarter turn. Both these connectors work a little differently. This one with the little blue tabs, you've got to push the connector down to release it, and on this one here, there's two little white pieces you got to squeeze and pull. So once you get those off, and the filter, the new fuel filter, slip it down in and then rotate it back. I don't know if it has a stop. Yeah, it has a stop where it goes. And then you slip this fuel connector on, press, and then you want to pull and make sure that, am I in focus? No, I'm not. Okay. You want to pull and make sure that sucker's on there good. And then same with the other one. Push that one back on, and then you want to push the little blue clip back up in place, and again make sure that one's tight. Make sure both those are tight. And let me tell you why. Because the second time I did a fuel filter change, one of them I didn't have tight, and I primed the system and I fired the truck up, and just a couple of seconds after it started, fuel went everywhere underneath the hood. And that time I was changing the oil inside the shop, and fuel was all over everything. It's amazing how much pressure the thing puts out, and it was a real mess. So make sure, you want to make sure those things are both connected nice and tight. So now we're done. We basically just need to prime the system and hope this beast will start. One more thing to consider is Diet Pepsi too. You know, if you put a can of Diet Pepsi in the crankcase, or even add it to the fuel, it'll do wonders. Not in a good way, but you know, it'll do wonders. So to prime the system, put the key in and you turn it to the on position, not clear the start position, and you can hear the fuel pump run. And fuel pump will run for about 30 seconds before it shuts off, saying well, it must have some kind of automatic shut off. But in theory, that's to make sure that the system is primed. It won't be, so I need to do it at least 6 times. I think I'm going to do it 12. So we'll turn on one to see if we can hear it. Can you guys hear it? I can hear it. Anyway, you just go until it quits. Okay, priming one last time. When the pump shuts off, we're going to hit the key and see if it'll start. All right, here we go. Come on, baby. And there she goes. Thank God. It was so embarrassing last time. And plus it scared me because I didn't know why the hell it wouldn't start. This truck had been dependable up to that point. So anyway, I actually primed it 20 times. Let it ran for 30 seconds. And even then it struggled a little bit to start. But it did start and we're good to go. So, oil and filter are done on this beast. I'll give you a breakdown on what it costs. I need to look stuff up. But this is not a cheap process. And let me tell you, I'm no diesel fanboy. Ford now has the Godzilla 7.3 V8 gas engine, and had that engine been available when I was truck shopping, I'd have bought it. Having owned a V10, they had, and in my mind, they had downgraded to the, what was it? I'm not sure what the other V8 they had when they did away with the V10, but it just didn't have enough horsepower and torque for what I need to tow. So I stepped up to the diesel. Now, I love when you step down on the gas pedal or fuel pedal, the get up and go the thing has. But when you start factoring in the maintenance costs, and if you actually ever have to take it in and have it fixed, and then just the fact that I only get about 12.5 miles a gallon running around town, which isn't all that great. I mean, my V10 does, 10, 11 miles a gallon. The difference was in the towing, but again, it just wasn't that big a deal. So, diesels, unless you really tow heavy all the time, are way overrated. Diesel fanboys, they'll argue that point, but it's true. One other advantage to the diesel is I was able to put a bigger tire on without losing much performance because of the all the torque it's got. Anyway, that's this part of Procrastination Garage. We'll figure out another project before we finish off this video. Taking Toby's for a quick little drive. I need to put some fuel in it. I was noticing as I was starting it that it's pretty low. Also got a couple things to mail, so we'll make sure this truck's all good, ready to go. I mean, who doesn't like paying $6.29 a gallon for diesel? $100 for less than 16 gallons of diesel. Yowza! So as far as the pricing goes for doing your own oil change for this diesel truck, the oil filter is about 16 bucks. Now these are genuine Motorcraft parts, so 16 bucks for an oil filter. The fuel filters, there's 2 of them. They come in a kit. They run about 60 bucks for the pair. And then the oil is what gets you. Right now on Amazon, a 5-quart container is $95 for the 5W40 synthetic diesel oil, and you need 3 of them. And looking online, the best price I could find was 65 bucks, and they were back ordered. So it is not a cheap option for an oil change, and this is doing it myself. Add labor on top of that and see what you get, and then figure out what your interval is for changing. Me, I'm on about a 4,000 mile, which is roughly a yearly usage for this truck. So it gets spendy doing oil changes on a diesel truck if you do it right. Now, granted, you can use cheaper oils, but I've got too much money invested in this truck, and that engine is ungodly expensive to fix, so I'll just stick with the Motorcraft stuff. All right, I'm not happy. I'm talking about the hold-down mounts for the UTV on the trailer. I hauled the mower on it just once, and I'm just not liking the rearmost mount, so we're going to modify them. And if I don't do it now, it'll just never get done, so it's best that we jump on it right away. And what's the problem? It's this part right there. For the front tires, it's good to have it. I don't need it for the back tires. So, and because when I bring the mower up on here, the mower deck's got to glide over those, or just getting the wheels of the mower up and over those is kind of a pain. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off the 4 rear mounts, and we're going to grind it right along here, which will remove this part right here, and then we'll bolt this section back down. So it's kind of a waste. I can actually buy a bracket similar to that one at Harbor Freight. They're pretty cheap, although the capacity on them was kind of borderline, but they'd have worked. But I've already got these holes all drilled, so I just soon use what I've got. So let's go ahead and get these 4 unbolted, and then we'll go from there. Oh, and then talking about procrastination, a couple days ago I actually used the mower. I hauled this trailer, and the mower's still sitting on it. I haven't bothered to unload it yet. But hey, that's the way we operate here at Procrastination Garage, right? It actually gets worse. This is the fuel filter, and that's the oil from the oil change I did on the Super Duty 2 or 3 days ago. Still got to clean that up too. Got all the bolts out of these two. There's one, there's two. I'm getting ready to mark them with some tape so I know which position they go back, because I had to drill extra holes in these, so they may be off a little bit. And I'm out here minding my own business, and this damn tree branch just out of nowhere decided to start attacking me. Golly. All four are off and marked. That one's marked left front, and that one's left rear. That one's right front, right rear. Now I'll take them into the shop and see if I can grind the welds away. If you look real close, you can see there's just a little weld bead right along there. So we need to grind that on all four pieces. The problem is going to be getting into this little part right here. So we'll see what we can do. And also I'm a little limited because my air capacity isn't real great. So my compressor's always having to catch up. I've got two of the pieces ground off. There's one. That one came out pretty good. This one not quite as well. This part here is a big chunk of the other part. So I'm going to head over to my grinder and clean these two up. And in the meantime, let the air compressor catch up, which I just shut off so I could video. Anyway, let it catch up and I'll come back and do the other two. And of course, once I get them all cleaned up, then I've got to paint them. 3 of them have been all ground down. I've still got one left to do. And then paint. And then I've got something else too. All 4 done, ready for paint. Since I'm going to have to paint both sides, I guess my piece of tape with the position isn't going to work, so I'll use an engraver and quickly engrave letters on there so I know where they go. Left rear, right rear, right rear, left front. Why do I have 2 that say right rear? No, I don't. It's right front. Okay, so now I need to find a can of half-used black spray paint, and we'll get these touched up. I found 2 partial cans of gloss black Rust-Oleum. What are the odds that at least one of them will spray some paint? Alright, let's see. Not that one. Let's try the other one. Nope, neither one of those are going to work. Does this surprise you? I'm headed to the hardware store to get a can of paint. And actually I needed to make a run to the hardware store anyway to get something else. But I was hoping to get the parts painted so they could be drying while I was gone to the hardware store. But you know how that goes. Obviously, cans of paint that are, I don't know, probably 5 years old or older, and probably weren't drained properly when I finished spraying them. You get what you get. Back from the hardware store with the cheapest paint I could find. GPM all-purpose spray enamel, gloss black, about $6 a can. See if this one works any better. That's gonna work. Got a coat on the bottom. Gonna let it dry for a while, and then we'll flip them over and do the other side. And in the meantime, we got another project. When I put this all together the other day, I realized that these little washers here, being compressed against the wood, were gonna sink in. And I knew that wasn't ideal, but that's what I had. That's what came with the kit, so I went with it. What I didn't really understand though was how quickly it would come loose. And when I pulled these pieces off the back here a little while ago, some of them were already loose, and I haven't done anything with this trailer except drove it over to our other property and back. I don't even think well, it's been out in the rain, but otherwise, I was surprised that they'd come loose that quickly. So here's what a better answer is. Going with the fender washer, that'll spread the load much better. And then instead of the regular nuts, went with some nylon lock nuts. And so even if it does come loose, at least the nuts probably won't fall off. So I ended up buying 100 pack of washers and nuts because they're a whole lot cheaper that way. So I may double up the washers to give a little extra thickness so they don't warp when I tighten them down. But while I'm waiting for the paint to dry, I'm going to go ahead and start replacing the ones up here on the front. Those I've done, replaced. I used 2 of the big fender washers, then the regular washer that came with it, and then the locking nut. Here you can look, you can see how far up the washer's been forced up in there when I tightened it the first time. So I'm prying those washers out and then putting the bigger washers on and put everything back together. So as soon as I get these 3 done, I will have the right front corner done. I'm going to go put on another coat of paint, well, flip the parts over, put another coat of paint on,
tackle the left front, and by the time I finish the left front, I'm going to bolt the other stuff back together because the paint will be dry enough. We're calling them done. They've got a nice good heavy coat on them on both sides, front and back. This is the top side. I'm going to ding them up just a little bit, bolt them in place, but I don't have all day to be waiting on it, so let's get them bolted on. I've got the modified brackets all bolted back down. I was only able to put one fender washer in the back on each of the bolts, mainly because the angle iron braces that go across were kind of in the way. It should be good, and if it's really a problem, I'll modify some fender washers to fit up under there. So anyway, with that, we're done here. What we didn't do also, we didn't unload the mower, and we didn't put away the oil change stuff from the other day. You know, we're procrastinating. It all could wait till tomorrow or the next day or whenever we get to it. We can't have a Procrastination Garage video without a visit by Bear. He's living the luxury life in the house today. So that's going to be a wrap on this week's Procrastination Garage. What did we get done? Well, we got an oil change on the tow beast. That was needed. We got the fuel filter changed. That was a good thing. We modified the brackets on the UTV trailer, the ones that we just put on the other day, and decided that they weren't quite what we wanted, so we took care of that. And what we didn't do is we didn't get to the sideboards of the trailer that we were hoping to start painting or get painted. So that'll be an upcoming project. So anyway, I hope you follow, I hope you like, hope you share. And if you're working on or not working on a project, let me know about it down in the comments. And with that, we'll see you next time on Procrastination Garage.